Let's talk about zero trust. It's the biggest buzzword in cybersecurity, and everybody claims to be an expert. But how do you actually prove you know what you're talking about? Well, today we're going to break down a certification that's designed to do exactly that, the CCZT.
I mean, it's a real challenge, right? Every single vendor out there is pushing their own zero trust in a box solution. So, how do you show people that your expertise is bigger than just one product, that you get the whole philosophy, not just the feature list? That is the question we're going to dig into.
And this whole situation creates a problem. I like to call it the zero trust credibility gap. You know that feeling? It's that frustrating spot where you have all this deep knowledge, but your resume is just a list of vendor acronyms that don't really tell the full story of what you can do. So here's the bottom line. Being a whiz with one vendor's toolkit is awesome, but it doesn't always transfer to a new job or a different tech stack. True, deep competence in zero trust means you understand the universal frameworks that everything is built on. And that is the gap the CCZT certification is built to fill.
So, what's the solution here? Well, it's getting a credential that focuses on the big picture, the architecture, the strategy, the kind of knowledge that's valuable no matter what tech you're working with.
And that's exactly where the CCZT comes in. It's from the Cloud Security Alliance, and it was designed from the ground up to be that vendor-neutral answer. It's not about proving you can click the right buttons in a product. It's about proving you can architect a real zero-trust strategy from scratch with any tools you're given.
So why does this one matter so much?
Well, for starters, it's not based on some company's opinion. It is grounded in the heavy-hitting, open frameworks from NIST and CISA. It tests you on the whole life cycle, from the whiteboard strategy all the way to implementation, which makes your skills totally portable. And because of that, it's getting some serious recognition in the industry.
This really gets to the heart of it. A vendor cert proves you know how to use a specific tool. The CCZT proves you understand why you're building something and what it should look like in the first place. It's really the difference between being a tactician and being a true architect.
Okay, so that's the big picture. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty. What does it actually take to pass this thing? Let's look at the exam blueprint.
All right, here are the stats. Now, a couple of things should just jump right off the page at you. First, it's open book. And second, it doesn't expire. That tells you everything you need to know. The focus is on applying your knowledge, not just memorizing facts. And the concepts are so foundational, they're not going to change next year.
So you're looking at 60 multiple-choice questions. Now, that might not sound like a huge number, but trust me, each one is crafted to make you actually think through a problem, not just spit back a definition.
And get this, you have 120 minutes to do it. That's 2 full minutes per question. What does that tell you? This is absolutely not a speed test. It's a test of your real understanding and your ability to work through a scenario.
But, and this is a big one, the bar is set pretty high. You've got to hit an 80% to pass. So this isn't some participation trophy. Earning this credential really means you've demonstrated a solid level of competence.
So what's actually on the test? Well, it covers these 7 domains. And as you can see, it's the whole journey, right? From the absolute basics through architecture and strategy, all the way to planning and implementation. And it's all anchored in those best practices from NIST and CISA.
And maybe the best part? There are no secrets about what you need to study. This is it. This is your reading list. The exam questions come right out of these documents. If you really master the concepts in NIST 800-207, you understand CISA's maturity model, and you review these real-world examples, you're going to be in great shape.
Okay, so knowing what to study is half the battle, but knowing how to study, that's where the rubber meets the road. So let's talk about a practical plan to get this done.
Look, this 4-week plan is built for people with a day job. It's totally achievable. Week 1, you just focus on the NIST foundations. Week 2, it's all about that CISA maturity model. In week 3, you start connecting the theory to practice with STP and real examples. And then in that final week, you bring it all home, practicing with scenarios and sample questions. You can do this.
And hey, here's a fantastic study tip. It's the whole teach it to learn it method. Pick a tricky concept, like a policy enforcement point, and try to explain it out loud, super simply, like you're talking to a new person on your team. If you can make it make sense to them, you know you've got it down cold.
All right, so you pass the exam, you celebrate, but that's really just the starting line. The real value is taking this knowledge and actually putting it to work. Let's talk about how you can do that and make a real impact. Now, you might be thinking, hey, I've heard of the CCSK. How does this compare? And that's a great question. The best way to think about them is as the perfect pair. The CCSK gives you that broad foundational knowledge of cloud security, while the CCZT dives deep, giving you a specialized focus on the zero trust model that runs on top of it. They really are complementary. So what does this look like in the real world? Like, what do you actually do with this on Monday morning back at the office? Well, you can immediately start running a maturity assessment using this as a model. You can sit down and draw out a target architecture based on NIST principles. You can scope out a real pilot project that's going to deliver a quick win. This is practical stuff. And finally, here's a little pro tip for your career. Don't just slap CCSAT on your resume or LinkedIn profile and call it a day. Frame it. Add a short description that says it's aligned with NIST and CISA, and then, and this is the most important part, add a bullet point with a real example of how you applied that knowledge. That's what shows real impact. So there you have it, the CCZT. It's more than just another cert. It's a clear, vendor-neutral path to proving you're a strategic expert in zero trust. So the only real question left is, once you have these skills, what's the first problem you're going to go out and solve? Thanks for watching.